Lifers Podcast. Get with it or get forgotten.
Welcome back, all of you lifers. Before we get started, make sure to go ahead and subscribe, like, review, comment. We are on all major podcast platforms. We also have a YouTube, a Twitter, and an Instagram.
Not to mention, if you want to find all of our media in one place, it is theliferspodcast.com, where you can also find our link to our Patreon page. Thank you ahead of time for the support. We truly appreciate it. And not to mention, in regards to support, check out our merch. You get 10% discount with the code Coach's Corner, all capitalized. 10% discount with the code Coach's Corner. Thank you so much. And, of course, get with it
Or get forgotten.
Hey, yo.
There's a time and a place for everything. And today, on the Coach's Corner, episode 3, we're going to do things a little bit differently. We got some current event topics we're going to speak about. We have the Georgia shot clock voting that happened today, June 23rd. We also have a very important topic, Title IX. It's the 48th anniversary. We're going to talk about NBA, Vice President of Basketball Operations. We got some new positions, and I want to speak about the people that they hired, as well as the coaching carousel that's happened. There's a lot of news online today. ESPN's been chirping. NBA.com's chirping. We got Mike Woodson being interviewed by the Knicks. We got Jason Kidd. We got so many rumors happening. And, you know, real quick, the bubble, we still don't know if it's going to happen or if it's not. But remember the Nets, they fired Kenny Atkinson, who's pretty successful. They got interim head coach Jacques Vaughn. You know, is he going to win a few games and maybe keep that job, or is someone else going to take that job? It's all going to be on today on the Coach's Corner. But first and foremost, I'd like to introduce to you one of our trustees, Coach Kev. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Thank you so much again. I appreciate you having me on. Truly look forward to, talking some of these current events and some really important stuff, especially the Title IX, man. I really can't wait to get into that.
It's a honor and a blessing, you know, to have you here on and just to be able to just talk shop, chop it up.
Yes, sir. Before we get started, I want people to understand. Some of you guys know I am a fourth year physical therapy student.
Yes.
I have my own podcast, Fit for Lifers. It's also on the Lifers Podcast Network. We have episode 2 coming out this Friday with Jose Santana, who is a former West Point track athlete star. Just kind of get a little tidbit. He holds so many records. Just to mention 3, he holds the indoor 60-meter, 200, and 400-meter records for the West Point Academy. So look forward to talking about him, his journey, his work ethic, and just everything, and some advice that you might have for some of you athletes out there.
I love it. This is what we do, a platform for athletes, coaches, normal Joe Schmoes, just like us, just trying to get some content out there and talk some good stuff. We're going to get started quickly here on the Georgia shot clock for high school. There's this stigma, first of all. Let's backtrack real quick. High school basketball, there's a lot of states who don't have a shot clock. So that means some areas, they literally will just hold on to the ball.
Mm-hmm. Run motion the whole time.
And run motion the whole time. Georgia today and other states, that there's just a big push this year. I know we're in a crisis, a pandemic right now, but the next few years, 2-3 years, a lot of our states are going to transition into a more European style 24 shot clock. So today, June 23rd, Tuesday, Georgia, congratulations. You have voted and have approved the process to start switching over into a shot clock format. I'd like to get your thoughts, Kev. You got the floor.
Actually, I kind of want to hear yours first. You clapped, so that makes me think that you like it.
100%.
Can I hear why?
Okay, so I understand, a lot of the coaches is a counter argument for a shot clock is, some of the areas aren't as skilled, or how are you going to force this just higher intense back and forth? It's a lot more. It's harder. It's going to be harder now. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we're all about, if you're really a true coach, if you're someone who wants the best for your athletes, female, male, young adults, whatever it is, you want to prep them the right way. The beauty about a shot clock, it's not about the 24 seconds. Let's get this straight.
It's gonna be 24. It's gonna be 35.
Or 35. Who cares? I'm just,
because I know college is 35, so that's
correct.
one thing to understand is that. So what is it? College is 35 and NBA is 24.
We can real quick check. Can you check real quick for me real quick? Because the real reason I enjoy a shot clock, it's not because of the time. It's quick. It's not that. It's teams have to now work together better and communicate more efficiently. Teams will be more fit because they have to move up and down and get in their offenses quicker. If you have a lazy team, or this goes more for boys, they can't just hold on and dribble or run that motion the whole time. They have to now think and say, oh, I got to look up at the clock. What does coach want me to run? It's chaotic. Now I have 10 seconds left. Am I trained the right way to make the proper decision? Execute and rely on that teamwork to make it happen in a shot clock format. And I am all for it. We are going to prepare our student athletes at a higher level because this is happening.
Okay. So I love it. I think, I love your answer to that, because I definitely am like on the fence about it. I still think I completely agree with the aspect of it. It's definitely more of a functional transition to college. Now, before I just looked it up. So Georgia approved a 30-second shot clock. Mind you, college is 35. So
love it.
It's interesting. Does that mean that college now pushes for maybe 28 or 26 to be closer to NBA? I don't know. But I do think it does make for a smoother transition in terms of training an athlete to be able to learn how to process faster and how to understand, shot clock and how to manage time and things of that nature. But there's also something to be said about being able to learn how to run a offense without the pressure of a shot clock.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I think my idea of it is maybe don't let it be a freshman JV thing and let it only be a varsity rule.
I like that.
But that's my only thing. But if they just say, I don't really care what you think, and let me, we're going to do it for all levels. I don't think it's a negative.
And I love that counter argument, Kev. Because real quick, okay, look, I coach JV. So let me give you a perfect example. My team, they're new, they're transitioning. It's my first year there. So, as a coach, you see what you have. Mm-hmm. And now my second off season, my first real off season.
Yeah.
And now I get it. We're in a pandemic, so things are different. Maybe, high school coaches might not have a jobs in the next 6 months. It might just be education and faculty staff, continuing educating our kids, and maybe sports, since there are gatherings, they will not allow for that to happen. Mm-hmm. But my ladies were running up and down the court, and they didn't even know how to play a lick of basketball. Mm-hmm. They were getting up and down the court. It's a lot of fast break. Look, 70% of a basketball game is transition, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, turnover, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, turnover, foul, 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 travel, travel, travel if you are at a lower level. Yeah. So 30 seconds, that's actually, I'd like to see how it's going to work. I did agree with you. Maybe, JV, freshman teams, a varsity level thing, prep them for that college transition. I like that argument there. But my ladies, we didn't even need 30 seconds. Yes, there were moments where one of my ball dominant guards may dribble for 20 seconds. But the reality is, at the JV freshman levels, they're just trying to get rid of that ball anyways, unless you have a player who's dominant enough to have it in their hands at all times.
So what you're saying, your argument is definitely that, most plays don't happen for 30 seconds anyways. Might as well
correct
shot clock for those teams that do hold the ball and say, look, we're just going to dominate ball control. It's going to be a 12-4, halftime game or whatever the case may be. Or
we're going to run zone because no one can shoot threes. These 15-year-old girls are 12-year-old boys at the middle school level, for instance, or
Yeah.
freshmen coming in, they can't shoot consistently. So people go into zone and
Yeah.
eat shot clock up all day.
Yeah, that's a great point. And honestly, now I'm kind of, you know what, I'm leaning towards. It's a great idea because I'm just remembering as a player, like I used to always tell my teammates, "Yo, let's just get up by 10 and run this clock." Like,
correct.
We all can dribble the ball, we all can pass. Let's just get up by 10 and dribble this ball until they start taking risks as a defense.
Yep.
So it's a really easy game to coach, actually, as long as if you have the best player on the court, you should be able to win every game.
Correct.
So I do agree with that you can no longer do that because you have to hold it. You can only hold it for 30 seconds and then you got to put something up. So I like it a little bit more competition. Now, I do have a question, though. Does this mean – so you know what? Forget my counter argument. My counter argument to my counter argument is make 30 seconds for high school if that's what gets approved and make 40 seconds for middle school. Because if we're going to start that transition,
correct,
we might as well do it
again.
Do it again because now youth athletes are, really are starting around that 12, 13, 14 range when it really starts to get competitive. We might as well start transitioning them to having a shot clock if we're going to go that range, because you're not going to go from being able to hold it as long as you can, to 30 seconds. It's a big difference.
It is a big difference, Coach, and we experienced a little of it. We do have the luxury. We coach young student athletes, I middle school transition. I love that. Maybe preparing them. I'd like to. Okay, so we each coached 7 middle school games here in Florida, in Orange County. You get 7 measly games. You get 1 month to prepare your student athletes. You really can't really coach the team because you're making sure
do your best.
They do your best. And then if you have a program that can establish something through the summer and through open gyms all year, open to public, of course, follow the rules. But you literally a few months ago, we were in the thick of things, playing basketball games. Do you think that our middle school girls and boys can play in a shot clock era?
Not a couple years ago. I'll tell you that much. But you know what? I think our team would have strived on it. I think one thing you tell players a lot of times is make a decision and live with it, right? We tell them, look, the worst thing you can do is hesitate on the court. You got to make a decision, and if you mess up, what's the very next decision you got to make up for that, and just do that. So it's a very instinctive game. Yep. You have to think about what you're going to do, obviously, and be try to be 2-3 plays ahead, but it's a very instinctive game. So you talk about how high school is a very 70% transition. I say middle school is 90% transition.
Exactly.
So yes, I do, and I think those rare times where oh my God, I would have loved it. I would have loved it because
it would have made my best player better, and maybe even some of my role players too.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. And how many
to get ready?
How many of these dominant teams would have been forced to actually play 4 quarters?
Correct. Specifically, in regards to our experiences, both of us had moments where maybe we felt like the other teams were holding on to the ball because they knew they can just hold on to the ball. And we're like, all right, well, now we got to press them. And then there's that 5-second rule. If you're not dribbling or moving,
5-second pressure rule. Yeah.
Pressure rule. You know what? Like I said, I'm ecstatic. I love it.
How long do you think before it goes to Florida before we transition next topic?
With how serious things are right now, health-wise, and we don't know. Let's see if these bubbles happen first for our sports. I don't know, man, because right now that transition for Georgia is a 3-year period. Mm-hmm. So let's give Florida 5, maybe 6 years.
Okay, I like that. You know what's funny? Now that I think about it, we coach so many games, and we instinctively train our players as if there is a shot clock.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, realistically, it wouldn't have been that hard to coach. I always say we don't coach to win. We coach our players to be better. If the result of that is winning, especially at the middle school and freshman and JV level, then great. Because if I wanted to win on a middle school level, as long as like Garcia, if I would have said, okay, dribble the ball 3 minutes every time we get down the court, we would have won every game. Every game. We don't teach our players to do that at all. I think having a 30-second shot clock makes those coaches start to coach more. And now you're on even more of an even playing field. Let's see what happens. So no, I like it. I'm a big fan.
I love it. Once again, Georgia, proud of you. Y'all voted for the shot clock rule in high school.
I'm gonna join the clap on this one.
Hopefully it's a movement forward for a lot of these. Just stop running zones. Come on, against 14-year-old kids who really can't shoot. Stop trying to win a game and not teach them how to rip through and attack the right way. Like,
yeah, I'm all for because this is a sensitive topic. I think for a lot of coaches, if they heard what you said, they'd be like, man, how dare you say not to run zone, right? My big thing is, look, college and NBA or WNBA overseas, most of those places run man, right? Now, do I think people need to know 2-3-3-2, 1-2-2, 2-1-2, those kind of philosophies of defense? 100%, but they need to be used as chess pieces, not this game of this is what we're gonna do all game. You got to stop us. Like
it's a lazy thing to me. You can tell if someone, like, if you wrinkle it in, and like I said, you can run a zone to stop somebody for a period of time. I'm talking about you're planning 5 players in the paint. And obviously, if they realize that we got some shooters and we're gonna hit some shots, then things change, and then you're forcing their coach's hands. But let's say most kids, they're not gonna hit 30 points. They're not gonna hit 10 3-pointers in a basketball game. I don't know. I like the shot clock is gonna get more shots up. The shot clock is gonna get more shots up, more plays up.
100%. I'm big fan of that. I don't think it's gonna. I mean, even I said, having a 40-second shot clock is great, but for middle school, but even then, you're not really going to see it really change anything much, except for those times where people are, it's kind of somebody's up by 10 and they're like, just make this game really short.
Perfect.
And in high school, maybe the same thing,
but let's quickly, well deserved, by the way, that we took our time here for this, because like I said, we are coaches. We love talking shop. But now we have a very, 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 very important topic to discuss. Today's a very special day. Today's the 48th anniversary for the Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972. Basically, and I'm going to read this verbatim. No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in or denied the benefits of or be subjected to discrimination under any educational program or activity receiving federal assistance. Before this was enacted, a young lady who had some skills had less opportunities than most males in sports and in higher level institutions. And so today, June 23rd, like I said, this is going to be, today is the anniversary of that amendment that President Nixon in June 23rd of 1972, it became a law. Give me your thoughts on that, Coach.
Love it. I think it's a step. I think it was such a beautiful progressive step forward. I think there are times in our history where we look back and go, okay, they got it right that time. It's funny. We're actually currently, and I believe in my heart, we're in one of those moments where we'll see that transition happen. And speaking of the Black Lives Matter, 2 people that are on this podcast here, we are Afro Latinos and we're proud of it. And I got a couple facts actually that I looked up is, although that was such a progressive step, we have so much to go. Only 2% of Black women are head coaches in all across all 3 NCAA divisions. Only in all 3 NCAA divisions, only 2% of Black women are athletic directors. You can't tell me that in 48 years we only have 2% that are applicable and are have the credentials to do so. So we still have a lot of steps.
And people want to say that we still ain't got no problems,
Yeah. My big thing is if you say we don't have no problems, you're choosing. I'm at this point where ignorance is a choice. So please go out and educate yourself. You're talking 56% of all Division I female student athletes are white. and only 21% of student athletes are black women. So not to mention across lacrosse, swimming, soccer, softball, volleyball, you're talking a total of maybe 23% of black women are represented in those sports if you add them all together.
And you know what's crazy? And I'm so sorry to cut you off,
No, you're good.
because soccer's the beautiful sport, right? And they're actually pretty diverse. So I'd like to say the bulk of that diversity. I don't know, I love that you're spitting this fact.
I'll break it down. So in lacrosse, only 2.2% of lacrosse players are black female athletes. Out of swimming, only 2% are African American female student athletes. In soccer, only 5.3% are black student female athletes. And in volleyball, it's 12, and in softball, it's 8.2.
Okay.
So all I'm saying is that if you're, we need to start taking a step back and look at this moment in history and go, God, we were so proud of Title IX.
Yeah.
What's the next thing we can do?
What's the next one?
The next thing. So that's my biggest takeaway from Title IX is realizing that, I'm going to say right now, my biggest takeaway is that change is possible, and we got to make it happen. What about you?
Absolutely. Real quick, I just want to shout out #the equity project. Right now there's, today was just a very important day for the likes of, the Candace Parkers of the world. A lot of these people who do have sway because of their status in a positive manner. And today I know many of these athletes were on their Zoom meetings, on their social media platforms, talking about this anniversary, 48th anniversary. But I loved how you spoke on it. There's still many things that need to be done. And I think educating people on letting them know the true meat and potatoes of what's going on. And I love that today was a day where just a spread of awareness was created, because this is the time for it. We are dealing with, the COVID, this pandemic. We're dealing with these riots, these unfortunate incidents. But it's funny because it's a perfect platform right now, right? Isn't it time that maybe like it's funny how everything's happening at the same time and with proper cause. Like I just once again shout out Candace Parker and shout out to the Equity Project. Like I said, I am so proud that I can motivate young women and student athletes to get to the next level, and that I'm there to support them. And yes, more men need to be on the front lines, because we are created equal. And there are many women who are qualified for certain positions, and honestly, that would do the job better because of their work ethic, their experience, and they've lived certain experiences that maybe certain GMs or front office people have never sniffed, but they're getting these positions anyways.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for me, we aren't the ones that have to ultimately make decisions. All we are is the everyday Joe that can sit here and have hard conversations and uncomfortable conversations with those who have either chosen to be ignorant or who are truly are. And that's just the way that they're raised. And that's, that's just what we got to do. But you got to really sit back and go, wow, only 2% of head coaches and 2% of athletic directors in all 3 NCAA divisions are black women. If you think that only 2% are qualified, you're severely mistaken.
No.
You're severely mistaken, and so that should tell you itself that look, you got a lot of issues. You got a lot of issues. And that's across. This isn't in just sports. This is in all platforms. We're talking in all of our major platforms in America. So keep moving. This is our time. This is our time to make a Title IX impact, right? Let's take a step forward.
Take a step forward. And like I said, once again, thank you for that lovely input. That data was spot on, sir. We can go, let's talk NBA.
Ayo.
On a lighter note, we're gonna get into some sports. Like I said, we got some coaching carousel questions we're gonna answer.
We're gonna go a little faster on this one.
All right, so we got here real quick, the NBA vice presidents of basketball operations were just appointed. Co-vice presidents Malik Rose and David Booth were hired. Essentially, they're you say, well, what is a NBA vice president of basketball operations? And you're over here like, oh, I don't know. Like, all right, so let me give you just a synopsis. Among their job responsibilities will be discussing league programs, rules, competitive elements, and new initiatives with NBA teams, players. Other job duties include broadening, growing, and working relationships with NBA teams under the respect for the game rules. It was a initiative announced in 2010 that offers players guidelines for permissible reactions to the referees. Essentially, these men are going to help mold and just, we're all talking about progress, change, positive impact. I'm all for the appointment of Malik Rose, two-time NBA champion, has been in the front office game. David Booth, a DePaul legend. If you check this dude out, David Booth was a baller, but the man has essentially an extensive background as a GM, assistant GM. He was with the Bayhawks, I believe, in the G League. So these men are more than capable of getting this sport into the right direction. What are your thoughts, Kev?
I'm gonna keep it short. I love when the NBA hires people that have the qualifications.
Yep.
Keep it like that. I mean, you're talking champions, you're talking players. So when you have a league and a position that's for direct player operations, who better than to have someone who was a part of it? So and not for nothing, but on the younger side of things too, who can be a little bit more in touch with the pulse of the culture and understand what's actually, what they want to see and what we want to see as fans. So I think it's dope, man. I think it's so dope. Not to mention, I'm going to go ahead and shoot this out real quick. The NBA officially approved the insurance policies for the rookies from 3 years
fourth
ago.
year.
Jason
the
Tatum,
4-year guys.
4 years. So the Bam Adebayos, the Jason Tatums, those kind of guys. So I'm so happy for that. And even with that, like, that's a huge step.
Correct. No, and like I said, we're in a time of equality, of opportunity, people who are deserving because they put their bodies on the line. I love it. I love it. Once again, let's keep hiring people who want to help the NBA, help people in general. Let people
Let's
help
look
people
at
the right way.
qualification. Can we just look at qualifications and make the best decision based off that? Like,
correct.
That's what drives me crazy. Let's look at qualifications and on top of that, qualifications and resume, right? When I say, I don't just say like, so there's qualifications, meaning like the numbers that they come with, right? X number of years of experience, right? Let's look deep into that and go, how was those years of experience? That's a different.
What kind of impact did you have during that tenure of that experience?
Exactly, because you have a lot of these head coaches that have been 20, 25 years and sitting on the bench, and let's look into those 25 years and see what was that 25 years more impactful than the 12 that this dude did, or the 10 years that he played in the league and the impact he made in the locker room. We need to dive deeper into people's qualifications and resumes.
Love it. So once again, shout out Malik Rose, David Booth.
Good luck.
They are co-vice presidents, and they are on their way to making the NBA a better sport. And it really is one of the bigger sports out there, growing because it's global. Everyone can adapt to it, and just more nuggets every day. I love it. Now, this is called the Coach's Corner, brought to you by the Lifers Podcast Network.
Don't forget it.
Or get forgotten. Let's talk Knicks. Let's talk Nets. Let's talk all these coaching carousel rumors. These guys. Let's start with the front office. Talking about front offices. They may need some changes. It doesn't matter who they hire. They might hire the guy that they hired 10 years ago in Mike Woodson. That's how they're admitting that they messed up, and they might hire the guy who gave them the best success when he was with Carmelo Anthony.
Oh man.
They're going to maybe hire Mike Brown. They're saying Jason Kidd. They're saying Mike Woodson. They're saying Phil Handy, my man, the trainer, is getting looks for a coaching job. Coach, any input right now on this New York Knicks news?
Honestly, I have a hard time talking about the Knicks just for the fact they're so trash. Like they're so trash. And I have okay. I'm talking. I know you asked me as a coach, but that was as a Miami Heat lifer.
Of course.
They're so trash. They've had it bad for so long. I'm on that bus of like, look, until they get rid of James Dolan, like I don't know if anything's gonna go right. But if I put my coach's hat on, Kenny, there's some good options out there. There's some good options
Kenny,
out there.
maybe, yeah.
I like Kenny Addison. I can't have a hard time saying his last name. Atkinson. He's a culture builder, which I like. The Jason Kidd, I'm not mad at it. I think he's doing everything right this year with being with the Lakers. He's been able to boost up his stock as a coach. He coached in WNBA and was very successful.
Yep.
He was a big contributor to the growth of Giannis Antetokounmpo during that saga of things.
He really was.
So I think he didn't have the resume when he actually first got the job in Milwaukee, right? He didn't. He had the player resume, but he didn't have any coaching experience. Correct. It's funny how life works. You go, you get fired, and you go and get 5 more years of experience, and now you're going for a New York Knicks job. So I don't mind that. I want some fresh blood, man. I want somebody that hasn't coached in the NBA. I really do. Like it's such a fraternity of coaches that you call it the carousel, right? They all just coach the same.
It's the same
thing. You're talking the only teams that have consistency are Dallas Maverick with Rick Carlisle, Spurs with Greg Pop, and Miami with Eric Spoelstra. Other than that, I mean, you have the Brad Stevens who've been there for 4 or 5 years. Like other than that, I mean, it's really a carousel. So
it is.
I would love to see some new faces, and because of that, I don't know. We'll see. I want someone new who we don't even know, but it's not going to happen because it's New York and they need to have someone to be able to be sold to the media
and to handle
the media.
Because our boy who used to be an assistant for the Miami Heat, he got fired from there this season, I believe, in the first 10 games, and the players were like, look, we want to play for you, coach, but this, and then it's like the owner's like, well, we need to make changes, coach. It's disgusting. Now,
for someone who is on a much lower scale, obviously middle school, culture takes time, and it takes talent.
Mm-hmm.
A coach's job in the NBA is to coach the players he's given.
Yep. So
he isn't, especially a first-year coach that has really very little input on what he's getting, right? He gets a team, unless he goes into a team in first year and they have a bunch of salary cap, and then he can make decisions on what's going to happen.
They signed a bunch of power forwards because no one wanted to go over there.
That rarely happens. They have 4 power forwards.
And don't get it twisted. Julius Randle, you can hoop. RJ Barrett, it would be enticing to see if maybe Jason Kidd can make him into the next Antetokounmpo-like type player.
Man, it's funny, man. My thing is that the New York Knicks are so trash right now that you take a player like RJ Barrett and you put him in a Miami Heat culture, and he might be a star this year. Like, it's crazy. Like, you take somebody like Julius Randle and put him.
He would be rookie of the year, and we might be a 2 seed or a 1st seed right now.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, and so my huge thing is, if New York just please commit. And I don't want you to, because I'm a Miami Heat fan. But I'm gonna take my fandom aside and go, please commit to somebody and watch them play out for 5 years, and just see what happens. Because guess what? That's gonna be better than switching every 2 years.
What about Mark Jackson? They're saying he's gonna get hired somewhere. The guy who won like 60 games.
Blackballed.
Let me win 50 games, win a few rounds in the playoffs, but hey, I'm not good enough.
And he hasn't gotten jobs since. He literally was the definition of what happened with the Warriors before they got Steve Kerr, and Steve Kerr got that team. The only thing that Steve Kerr did different was he did implement a little bit more of a motion offense, and he put Draymond Green in the starting lineup. Great, good. I'm not saying Steve Kerr is a bad coach. I'm proud of you. You can't win 3 championships and without being a good coach. But for Mark Jackson to go from 20 wins to 40 wins to 50 wins to 60 wins and then never get a job again, something. And again, golly, come on. And not for nothing, and I hope it's not the case, but not for nothing, he is he is African American.
Yep.
Like, I'm not saying that's the cause, and I don't know. I'm not saying that, but I really hope it's not. But man, I don't know what it is. I don't.
You imagine if they hire, okay, and it's funny because then someone like David Blatt gets hired to Cleveland with no experience. And shout out David Blatt, you are actually a tremendous coach. You know how to you have a great understanding of the European style.
Yes.
But don't get it twisted. You imagine if Cleveland makes that hire and brings in a Mark Jackson, maybe they may have that squad together and maybe they get an extra title. Who knows? You know, like. Let's move forward, man. Let's talk the New Jersey Nets because I want to keep it locale. They essentially fired Kenny Atkinson, who had a few years very successful. You said it earlier, Kev. He built the culture. They bring in KD. They bring in Kyrie. He really didn't get to coach KD at all. He had a few games with Kyrie, and they gave him the chopping axe because they're moving into a bigger, better situation. I get it. So now this is a playoff team who has to go into a bubble, and they have interim head coach Jacques Vaughn, another guy.
Kyrie and KD.
Correct. With no KD, no Kyrie. My question for you, Kev, let's say this man wins a round in the playoffs after we play our 8 games, I believe. You win a round or two, man. You got to keep that job, right?
Yeah. But it seems like Kyrie and KD are running things, so I don't know what they. Who knows what they want.
So they're saying maybe Mark Jackson over there. They're saying maybe
I actually like that. I really do like the Mark Jackson and Nets rather than New York. And the reason why is I think the Nets,
they're the better team, man.
They have the better team, and it gives them a little bit, a chance to coach a good team again, man. Like
they didn't fire Kenny. The man I think coached like 3 or 4 years. They saw the success, and they're moving on to like we want a championship contender. So the front office is like, maybe we need some changes. So I get it, even though he was kind of chopped unfairly, but I think he knew it was coming anyways. So I don't know.
Yeah, very unfortunate. It's almost like he actually ironically got the Mark Jackson treatment. But we'll see what happens. I wouldn't mind the Mark Jackson. I wouldn't mind it.
Okay. So we're gonna finish here soon. We have one last topic here.
I'm so sorry. Do you think they win a series? I don't. I do not.
You know what it is about that bubble? Teams like Miami and like the Nets who know how to play defense and got dogs, they can sneak one of these finessier, more Giannis dependent teams maybe. I don't know.
Bro, remember we're doing the 1 through 16 seeding.
Yeah.
And so I forgot who.
There's going to be a lot of West teams that are just going to steamroll some of these East competition.
I honestly call it right now. I think the Nets lose in the first round in 5 games. And which is why they're going to be able to make the choice of firing, the interim head coach and making that decision. And that's going to be the hottest team.
If they win a series, it's because Chris LeVert is healthy and he's playing at an all-star level. Put it on the board.
Dinwiddie.
Yeah, I think he got banged up, but then he might be good right now too.
Everyone's good right now.
Yeah, but like Chris LeVert specifically, who they kind of had off the bench, was still kind of like slowly transitioning these last.
Is it me or he's a guy that would like to go to a Spurs, Miami, and be a star? And be a
well, then Dinwiddie too. The guy's 6'6", can handle the rock. It's like
what Dinwiddie reminds me of though, like in the S type of player is CJ McCollum. Like they got the same kind of like. I don't think they would both ever be the ones on a team, but they'd be a great number 2.
2, 3, yeah.
2 or 3. But I don't know. I like the LeVert better than the Dinwiddie type of fit.
Okay, cool. So for our last topic today, we're keeping it sort of in the coaching carousel conversation, but we're gonna go head over to the G League. An individual by the name Brian Shaw, who was on the Lakers staff
many times.
I think he was a head coach for the Lakers at one point.
Head coach, assistant coach, player.
The guy's a player. He can. He does have actually a very. It's proven that Brian Shaw can develop and train certain players and young people. Mm-hmm. So he is now officially the head coach of the new Dun-dun-dun-dun, G League prospect team, if we have a G League coming next year. And
Nice.
it's a team of elite young players. And you're like, well, what's the G League prospect team? And well, there's certain high school players, or let's say I'm in my first year of college and now I'm still, but I don't want to go and get drafted by an NBA team because maybe I'm not good enough. Let me try my hand at the G League prospect league. They're saying, they already have a few students.
Well, it's some of the high. It's also some of the high profile
elite
high school
2019s. Is that what it is, or 2020s? I'm sorry.
Yeah, high school athletes that don't don't want to go to college, or don't want to go that route when they can go the G League route, get paid, develop
instead of the 1-and-1 or the one and done.
And you know what? And my whole thing is just to each his own. You know, some people want the college experience. Some people need to go G League and get paid. You know, it's whatever. Some people need to go overseas. It's whatever is best for you. I think the fact that now we have multiple options as an athlete is amazing. I remember the first athlete to really do it in my history, and I was so envious, was Brandon Jennings. When he went overseas, got his Under Armour contract, and then got drafted that very next year. And I was like, yo, I think I want to do the Brandon Jennings thing. Like, I love the idea, you know. So I love the fact that now people have options, and it's forcing the NCAA not to do the right thing, because I don't think they ever do the right thing, but forcing them to make sure that players can make money off of their likeness. Because if not, everyone's going to be like, well, screw the NCAA. We're going to go play in the development league or play our own league.
Correct. So essentially, these elite prospects are not NBA eligible.
Not yet.
They have to stay in the program for 1 year. Essentially, it's just like a one and done, but instead of a college environment, you're in a G League, which is the highest level other than college before NBA.
Yeah,
in my opinion, other than like Euro League, Championships League, and stuff like that, which is super competitive.
Yeah.
But these 18-year-old athletes will sign a 5-month-long contract for $125,000, a lot of money for an 18-year-old. You're not getting paid that amount of money when you're going to Duke. I'm sorry. You might get it in other ways and through education, but you're getting paid now. At 18-year-old is getting a 6-figure salary for 5 months, mind you, only. They're going to be introduced to a robust programmatic development program, and they're going to have to play grown men, because the G League is super competitive. Perfect example, Miami Heat, San Antonio Spurs, certain teams live off plucking the hungriest, most talented players, where people are like, who are you?
Kendrick Nuns of the world, Duncan Robinson.
Do you know who is the best three-point shooter of the NBA before the season ended right now?
Who?
It was Duncan Robinson. He had the most threes, you know, and it's like, who's Duncan Robinson? And it's like, the man was in the G League. So I am with it for kids and athletes to go in if they think they're good enough to get this type of experience. I'm excited to see, Kev, because we're going to see some of these kids fail. And it's like, how do you bounce back from that without being in an environment where you're babied at a college level?
Well, here's my retort to that. Could you imagine going into G League for 5 months, working your tail off, and two things happen: you either get hurt or you're not good enough, but yet you're at least able to make $125K for your family.
Yep.
So a lot of these cases, to provide the opportunity, or you go to college, they pay for your tuition, which is at max for the average, with everything paid for, is around $60,000, right? Per year, right? And you can still get hurt and they can take away your scholarship, right? So just use that example of getting hurt. Let's use the example of getting hurt. You play for 5 months, get hurt, you still get your 125.
Yeah.
Or you go to college, get hurt, they take away your scholarship. You make nothing.
You make nothing.
Just even if you look at the worst case scenario, it's still better to go to G League.
We're all about options and opportunities.
Mm-hmm. What would you do as an athlete? I'm curious. What would be your? I know we're about to end, but I'm curious.
If I'm getting whispers that I might be good enough to make 6 figures when I'm 18 years old, I think it's going to start being even more competitive, Kev. I think these EuroLeague teams might try to tap into this. Like the NBL is, the Australian Basketball League. They're already plucking 18-year-olds and putting them in a professional environment.
Yeah.
But now that there's an avenue for kids want to play professionally. If you're 6'6", LaMelo Ball, and you're
Mhm.
and you got what it takes, man, go for it.
Mhm.
You know, stretch your arms out, even if it hurts, and go for it. And so, I'm for the G League prospect elite team. I'm excited to see how some of these kids react because it will be tough. There may be injuries, but that could happen. And you said it. It could happen to Zion when he's in Duke. He had a little shoe explosion tear. What if that was crazy injury? You know, probably still gets drafted first. He did.
He had a $4 million insurance package, I believe.
Yeah, he had an insurance package. But not everyone has that.
You're talking about the best player in college that year.
And we freaked out because he almost lost his leg, metaphorically, but he almost, he could have torn something. He could have popped an Achilles when that shoe exploded. You never know, man. So
can I say something on wax that I haven't said?
Do it. Love it.
G League was such a step forward, but you know what it actually is priming the next move, and you know what that is, right? It's the return of high school athletes back into the NBA.
Oh yeah.
And the reason why I say that, I haven't, my on wax is the year that it happens is when Bronny James is a senior.
So 3 more years?
3 more years, and LeBron James' contract ends up being up in 3 years. I have a huge feeling that they're going to end up teaming up on the same team. He's going to find out where he gets drafted, and he's going to play with his son. It's on wax.
I love it, man.
It's funny how LeBron James had complete contract and turned down the 5-year and did 4.
Yeah.
Funny how that works. You're gonna
funny how it works. Well, he's already said it. On wax, he's like, my freaking main objective is to partner up. I don't care what team I go to. I'm gonna play with his son. So it's not even. It would have to be a front office thing or like a douchebaggery thing if you're not gonna let LeBron James play with his son.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, I've been saying this for the last couple years, and that's why I kind of hate that I waited this long to put it on wax, and why I wish we had a podcast 4-3 because I called no one remembered this, and it won't ever be remembered because we didn't get to put it on wax. I called out the big 3 years before it happened. I called out the Greg Oden signing. I called out a lot of things.
You did, Kev.
And I feel just as confident to say that I believe that LeBron structured his contract directly to allow the opportunity for him to be able to play with his son.
I love it. Once again, Kev, it's a pleasure. It's an honor. Thank you so much. Lifers, before we shut this down, make sure to subscribe, like, review, comment. We are on all major podcast platforms. We also have an IG. We have a YouTube. We have a Twitter. We're consistently updating our content. We have the MMA Mondays. We have the Coach's Corner. We have Fit for Lifers.
Yes, sir.
We have a surprise pod coming eventually, but we got fantasy football coming up soon. If everything happens, to go into full swings, and then we still come out with content whenever we want. So just make sure to give us a follow. And
the best thing about it, you're talking 8 to 12 podcasts per month. Please go ahead and subscribe. Like he mentioned, if you're watching this on YouTube, smash that like button. It's super important for us. We truly appreciate it. All of our content is free. And if you want to watch it all, you can go to theliferspodcast.com as well. And if you do want to support, of course, you have our Patreon page. And if you want to buy some merch, you can. We have T-shirts on there. If you want to get 10% for a discount, you can go ahead and put the code Coach's Corner, all caps. Truly appreciate you. Savi, thank you again. Can't wait to have this episode out for people to watch.
Love it. Have a beautiful night. And like we always say, get with it.
Or get forgot.